Hey y'all, and either welcome back or welcome for the first time to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, fringe candidates, and just general weird American election history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
And yeah, welcome back, or for the first time. I already said that. Yay, nerves. I'm glad it's setting in. Eventually we're going to be really good at this, and it's going to be
so lazy as a result.
It's going to be awesome. We're just going to yawn our way through it. And it's going to be great. But until then, thank you for putting up with this. And Una, I promised you a surprise before we started recording, and it is this. We got some Rocky De La Fuente news.
Rocky!
Now, for those of you who are listening to this for the first episode...
go back and listen to the...
Yeah, go back and listen to the previous one, which is about the best man in politics, Mr. Roque De La Fuente. Yeah, just go back and listen to the previous episode, but as of right now, all you need to know is he is running for president in the Republican primary.
And he will accept no substitutions unless that substitution is a Senate...
Yeah, a Senate seat or mayor of New York City.
Yeah.
But a Christmas miracle happened for Rocky literally on Christmas Day. Yeah. And that was, for the first time, as far as I can tell, Rocky's been included in a national poll. YouGov, which is doing kind of like a daily sort of poll, Rocky was on their December 25th poll with 1% of the vote, which had him tied with former Governor Bill Weld of Massachusetts.
Rocky!
But even better, on January 13th, RKM Research and Communications Incorporated had a poll for the Republican primary in New Hampshire, which had Donald Trump at 79%, former Congressman Joe Walsh at 4%, former Governor Bill Weld at 4%, and Rocky De La Fuente at 2%.
2%, Rocky!
2% is huge. There are serious Democratic candidates who cannot even come close to 2% in New Hampshire, and Rocky's got it.
It is the spice in the mayonnaise.
It's great. What spice goes in mayonnaise?
I know. I'm thinking of all the Democratic primary candidates who are probably still in the running.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, John Delaney's not dropping out. That man has a dream. He quit his job early to do this. So this is ideally going to be a feature for the rest of the year. Anytime there's Rocky news, we're gonna stop the presses and start off with some beautiful news about this amazing, amazing man.
I can't wait to grow more and more angry.
It's
rich man, dilettante, hobbyist.
I mean, look, he's doing his best. He's wasting his money in ways that is far better than other people.
We
will be learning about.
Rocky Jr.
Oh, Rocky Jr. Rocky De La Fuente III.
Yes.
Currently running for the Democratic presidential nomination. I still haven't been able to find a picture of the man. I do know that he's going by RD3. I believe, or RF3. It's one of those. I will eventually look it up when I care to. I will definitely be keeping us up to date on all the De La Fuente exploits for the rest of 2020.
Just please, universe, do not let it come down to a Rocky match-off.
Oh my god, I do not want to see that family ripped apart. I don't want to see Father Rocky and Rocky III just like throwing down in November.
At that point, just slap a crown on them.
Just co-presidents.
Really invite Harry and Meghan.
Oh my god.
Live next door.
In the beautiful world where that happens, I could totally see that Dad Rocky would have Rocky III as his VP, and Rocky III would have his dad as VP the other way around. Or they just both have Ricardo. I could totally see that, and I would welcome it with open arms.
I look forward to maybe finding a picture, or realizing that this is like a Haunted Hill situation, where women does not exist.
Yeah. Spoilers, I guess. I don't know.
Rocky III is actually a portrait in Rocky Jr.
Oh my god! That would... Oh god, that'd be so beautiful. Well, let's move on then to the number one topic of today. So the last podcast, I toyed around with the idea of like, oh, do I ask you like a themed question at the top and then run away? No, that's too much work. We're just gonna dive in to this beautiful, beautiful lesson in cacistocracy.
I have very low blood pressure. Bring it on.
You got it. Let's get that Robitussin. By the way, Una, how much you've drunk like half a bottle of Robitussin?
Yeah, no, I'm about to get little Wayne on this.
Oh God, no.
On this podcast. Last time, the very beginning of a sinus infection. Now it is some kind of like Les Mis Colette consumption that may emanate from this side of the recording device, but we'll manage.
It'll be fine. I'm sure someone listening will light a candle and it'll be wonderful. Thoughts and prayers. So yeah, let's just dive on in. We're gonna start this off with a little fella by the name of Charles Elson Roemer III. So Charles was born in Shreveport, Louisiana in 1943 and grew up on the Scopina Plantation, his family's 7,000-acre farm and one of the oldest operating plantations in northwest Louisiana. Roemer stated in his biography, "At Scopina, I formed my views of the world based on the value of individuals, rather than on the color of someone's skin. I learned the keys of success that I carried into the world far from here. Keys like hard work, team effort, and honesty in reporting what you saw." Much like his father, who went by the nickname Budgie instead of Charles, baby Charles took a nickname, and throughout most of his school life was known as Butch. But one day, just after starting high school, he came home and decided that Buddy was a name that people would take more seriously. And it was about time people started calling him that.
That's the very southern line of thinking.
Yeah.
That can still be said in polite company.
Yeah, I would like to believe that was the 1950s version of turning emo. You're just like, I have a nickname now, Dad.
You know what, Butch? No one's gonna.
That was an idiot name of a young child. I'm Buddy now, a serious adult. So, as he reasoned, a Butch tended to look for trouble, while a Buddy avoided it. Now, whether or not that's true is up for debate, but a 1988 Washington Post article by John Ed Bradley, which is where I got a decent chunk of information about Buddy from, was more of the belief that Buddy has heard and fabricated so many different versions of this story that the memory of it has been corrupted by legend. That it's just his life now. Who's to say?
Yes, he's already a myth.
Yeah, a myth at 13.
Oh,
God. In between working the fields of cotton and going to school, Buddy had the occasional aspiration of becoming a preacher, more than likely of the Methodist sort. But he would waver between that and continuing operations of the family plantation during much of his childhood. But Roemer was a very skilled student, so much so that he full-on skipped the 5th grade and graduated as valedictorian of Bossier High School at the age of 16. He entered Harvard, probably inspired by the fact that his idol John F. Kennedy went there, where he earned a BA in economics and then re-enrolled to get his MBA in finance. Buddy returned home from Harvard, where he worked the family farm, did a stint as a banker, as you do, and took a job at his father's computer software company, Innovative Data Solutions. The company created software that would gauge the importance of issues to constituents and direct telegrams to targeted people to get out the vote for a particular candidate. You see, while Buddy was away at college, his father, Charles II, or Budgie, who I'm just going to call him from here on out, had entered fully into Louisiana politics. He had led a committee to remove Congressman Overton Brooks from his seat in 1961, a campaign which kind of failed and kind of succeeded when Brooks died later that year. Throughout the decade, Budgie became an advocate of civil rights. He worked as a lobbyist, a pollster, and an analyst. He created a software company and parlayed it into a political consulting firm. In 1971, Budgie took a very strong interest in the upcoming gubernatorial election. He invited several candidates to Scopina and threw his support behind Democrat Congressman Edwin Edwards. After Edwards won the primary, Buddy Roemer was named Edwards' campaign manager, and Buddy shifted his focus from software to regional leader of North Louisiana for the campaign. Edwards won and made Budgie as commissioner of administration the second most powerful position behind governor in Louisiana. The Roemers had become a part of the incestuous world of Louisiana state politics. It's really kind of frustrating how many times you hear the exact same name over and over and over in Louisiana politics. So strap in. So one of Governor Edwards' first major accomplishments was calling for a statewide constitutional convention. The state constitution at the time was 250,000 words long and had been amended 500 times, and hadn't had a serious update since 1921. In 1972, Buddy was nominated as one of the 135 delegates and aided in creating the newly minted Louisiana Constitution in 1974. But Buddy had much bigger plans. And if he was to emulate his hero JFK, then he'd have to make his way to D.C. His first opportunity would come in 1978, when previous nine-term incumbent Joe Waggoner decided to retire. What followed was the first real taste of Buddy Roemer as a politician and the foundation of the personality that would bring him his greatest success. One of Buddy's beliefs was that the Red River Navigation Program, a pet project of the outgoing representative, and a project that was beloved by multiple business peoples in the area, needed to be ended due to excessive costs. People, as a whole, lost their shit. Waggoner announced his opposition to Roemer, and Buddy's staff advised him to either say he was misquoted or to walk back his statement. So now that I'm thinking about it, the Red River Navigation Program was essentially a business opportunity for people in the area to make it easier to transport goods by river. In Buddy's opinion, had kind of turned into a bit of a boondoggle and a waste of money. So instead of walking back his statement, Buddy held an interview and reiterated everything he had said before about the Red River Project. This did not help his campaign. He was polling in third at best in the blanket primary, behind Democratic businessman Buddy Leach and former state representative Jimmy Wilson.
I was really hoping there would be 3 buddies.
I know, that would have been so great.
So close.
Just packs of buddies, but no, there's a... So quick sidebar. So blanket primaries, also known as jungle primaries, are popular in Louisiana. We talked about them kind of in the De La Fuente episode, where everyone, no matter what political party, is on the same ticket, and whoever gets the 2 most votes, if no one gets 50%, then goes on to a runoff election, and then people pick between those 2.
Got it.
Things were looking bleak, and weeks before the election, Buddy was presented with a massive temptation. If he were to match the bribe of a fellow candidate, a shady individual with massive voter pool would endorse Roemer officially, potentially swaying the election in Buddy's favor. Buddy turned him down. The day of the election, Buddy secured 27% of the vote, but it wasn't enough to attain second place and move into the runoff. And the runoff ended up featuring Leach and Wilson, where Leach won by a narrow 266 votes. So, I mean, this is kind of the cool thing with Buddy, is, he could talk about, I have my morals and everything at the end of your life in your autobiography. Mm-hmm. But dude very much early on had his scruples and had no interest in bending them.
No Faustian deal for Buddy.
Oh, God, no. No, Buddy was just like, this is who I am. Vote for me or don't. Yeah. I'd like you to. Very much.
But also Red River.
Yeah. Fuck that river. 6.5 months after being sworn in, Buddy Leach was indicted on federal vote buying charges.
How about that?
I know, right? You call yourself a fucking buddy, and then you go and pull this shit.
You have the audacity to name yourself Buddy.
Go to prison, Butch Leach.
Yes.
We don't need
You're
that kind
a Butch now.
Now, Leach would be acquitted of those charges in 1980, but indictments seldom bode well going into an election year.
You'd think that, but that was before
2019. In these golden sweet times in deep South Louisiana, back when corruption meant something. Yeah. So the next election, Jimmy Wilson and Buddy Roemer would qualify for a rematch, and the new contender, State Senator Foster Campbell, joined in on the fun. One small bump in the road, though, is that year Buddy's dear old dad, Budgie, kinda got caught accepting a $15,000 bribe from an undercover FBI agent.
Budgie!
I know! Maybe Budgie's the shitty name. That's the bribe nickname.
Man.
I still don't know what Budgie means. I probably should have looked that up.
I know Bunny is, or was, a common prep school name for a boy. Yeah,
actually, I feel like I run into a lot of bunnies when I read about Republican wives in the 80s.
Yes. But also, super, super waspy guys.
Yeah. For now, I'm going to assume Budgie's a kind of fish, but a fish that people like. I don't know if that's accurate. Until proven otherwise, Budgie is a cute fish.
Yeah.
But he continued to espouse love for his father and never once abandoned him. Another bump was that Buddy still hadn't been able to pay off the $400,000 debt from his run in 1978. Also, he still kept on about how the Red River Project was just bullshit. Fuck that river. I am going to tell you about it until we burn that river to the ground.
That's the hill he's gonna die on.
I mean, altogether, just not a lot of great things for a campaign. But then Governor Edwin Edwards, who had brought his dad and Buddy up into the political limelight, shone his glorious light on Buddy and gave him his endorsement. Once again, Buddy won 27% of the vote, but this time it was enough to give him a second-place finish. Jimmy Wilson ended up being the odd man out and ended up endorsing Buddy Roemer, and Roemer ended up winning in a 64-36 landslide. And with that, Buddy Roemer became a U.S. congressman.
Just falling upwards.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's he
Amazingly.
didn't have to change a thing about himself. He got to be pure
Nope.
Buddy and still won.
Just keep stepping on that dick, buddy. Step on that dick all the way to Congress.
I don't appreciate you saying the white man motto like that. So despite Buddy being a member of the Democratic Party, he was a slight anomaly for the time.
Paul, what time frame are we talking about?
We are at 1980.
Okay.
So we're talking about like the 70s to like the early 90s.
Yeah.
So no matter what the dipshits at PragerU say, there was a party shift between the GOP and Democrats in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there was the whole Southern campaign.
Exactly. The once liberal GOP turned conservative and vice versa for the Democrats turning more liberal. However, not all the Democrats had come along for the ride, and especially more so with Southern Democrats. Buddy fell a lot more into the latter category. He was a strong supporter of the policies of Ronald Reagan and often fought with the Dem House leader Tip O'Neill of Massachusetts. The animosity between the two was palpable. Buddy often complained that O'Neill was too liberal, while O'Neill stated that Roemer was often wrong, but never in doubt.
Oh, I'm keeping that in my back pocket
Yeah.
for always.
The infighting with the other Democrats had kept Buddy from initially attaining a seat on the influential House Banking Committee, and very nearly led him to jumping ship to the GOP in 1983.
This man has an MBA from Harvard,
Yeah.
people.
I was a banker once.
Yes.
Put me on the committee. Eventually, Buddy was placed on the banking committee, and the Democrats came to tolerate the fact that he was just never going to be more liberal. While a thorn in the side of his party, Buddy was nothing but beloved by his constituents. So much so that in 1982, 84, and 86, he ran completely unopposed for re-election. The thing, though, is that if you want to be the next JFK, you can't very well spend your whole career in the U.S. Congress. So in 1987, Louisiana was in the midst of some of its worst times since the Great Depression. Unemployment was at 15%. The state had the highest cancer rate in the nation, potentially due to rampant pollution of the rivers, and the state was incredibly close to declaring bankruptcy. It was a perfect storm of fuck awful to make an incumbent governor very susceptible. So in 1987, Buddy Roemer set his eyes on the governorship of Louisiana. But to get there, he would need to top the incumbent, three-term governor and longtime family friend, Edmund Washington Edwards.
Buddy, this is a lateral move at best. JFK was never governor. Also, can we pause? Because I'm just loving the fact that currently we are 2 for 2 on fringe candidates who espouse love for JFK
Yeah,
and Ronald Reagan.
I think you're going to find a theme.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I mean, JFK is just such a quick go-to for so many people, because, I mean, don't get me wrong, he did a lot of good stuff. And I think he's a safe Democrat to point at to say, well, I mean, clearly I'm bipartisan, I love JFK.
Right.
But, yeah.
Pretty boy over there that became a national tragedy.
Exactly. Now it's time for us to dive into the history of Edwin Edwards, part 2 of this wonderful world.
Edwin Edwards! Tell me more about Louisiana.
To give you an idea of how much of a challenge Buddy was up against, it's important to know about this guy who was nicknamed the Silver Fox. Born in 1927 to a half-Creole Presbyterian sharecropper father and a French Catholic mother, Edwards grew up very much like Roemer, planning on becoming a preacher. He even got a little practice behind the pulpit at his local Church of the Nazarene before serving in the Navy Air Corps at the end of World War II. After returning from the war, Edwin attended Louisiana State University, and at the age of 21, graduated with a degree in law. So after graduating, Edwards discovered what would be his secret weapon throughout most of his career, being bilingual in English and Cajun French.
Ooh.
He moved to the city of Crowley to practice law, and that was primarily because his sister informed him that there were barely any lawyers there that could speak French even half worth a damn. So Edwards began to become a favorite of the local media. He would often chat with reporters and built a solid working rapport with the newspapermen that he would encounter at the parish court. 5 years after moving to Crowley, Edwards ran for his first ever elected position, city councilman. He ran as a Democrat, more in the vein of an FDR New Deal, more liberal than others Democrat.
Love it.
Edwards won and remained on the city council for a full decade. So in 1964, he ran for state senate, and ousted a 21-year incumbent in the process. Despite his inexperience, he was given the rank of floor leader for the governor, John McKeithen. Now, a floor leader is a position that is selected by the governor. And it's typically as a way to help kind of rally the state house to help move the governor's ideas and opinions. But, fuck that job. Fuck being the most powerful person in the state senate. Because 1 year later, there was a special election for the newly opened House seat of the 7th District. Edwards ran, won, and he was a U.S. congressman in that seat until 1972.
Oh, damn.
It was then that Edwin was invited to the Roemer plantation, won the favor of the family, and went on to win his first gubernatorial race and go on to serve 2 consecutive terms. His first major accomplishment as governor was changing the statewide election system from the primary system to the jungle primary system that Louisiana uses today.
Interesting.
He led the rewrite of the state constitution, which you mentioned before, which abolished 80 state agencies to simplify the government and appointed more people of color and women in his administration than any of his predecessors.
All right.
He also had the wonderful luck of being governor during the state's oil and gas industry boom, which allowed him to keep the state's budget balanced for years, increase health and human service spending, and increase spending in education.
Touching.
To call his tenure as governor a publicly adored success would be a massive understatement. Dude was beloved. But this is also when people would start to get a hint of the other side of Edwin Edwards.
Go on.
It started a bit small. It was in his first year, Senator Allen J. Ellender passed away. So Edwin searched high and low for the best replacement for him to appoint. And actually, he just gave the job to his wife, Elaine.
Wait, so what was the job again?
Senator.
Oh, what?
Of America.
What?
And he just gave it to his wife.
Oh, no.
Now, this was something he did maybe to not make himself look like a dictator and just select who he actually wanted for the position and have it more of just like a body in a seat until an election could happen. Elaine Edwards even stated, "Let's make it clear, I am not a senator."
That makes it worse.
And once her successor won the next election, she immediately resigned. But yeah, it's still weird.
I mean, he could have gone with, I don't know, capable, breathing woman in position of power, equality, and then it's like, but it's your wife. But still,
Yeah.
And instead it's just like, no.
I
turned left, and that was the person who was standing next to
Yep.
me. So let's move along.
Yep, hashtag feminism.
No, no, this is only the beginning.
Oh, Una, why are you grinding your teeth?
Oh, no.
So after that, Edwards was questioned about receiving illegal campaign contributions. His former bodyguard accused him of selling state agency post. And he also claimed that Edwards had multiple extramarital affairs. Which, if you're gonna have affairs, where better to put your wife than multiple states away?
No!
The biggest scandal, though, would be Koreagate. In 1976, President Nixon had declared the withdrawal of troops from South Korea, which the South Korean government was not a fan of. In an attempt to gain favor from the House, the Korean CIA began funneling bribes through businessman Tongsun Park to various members of Congress. Now, it was initially charged that Governor Edwards had been given $20,000 from Park, but Edwin denied it at first. Then he said it was actually $10,000. Also, the money was given to self-proclaimed not a senator, Elaine Edwards, but she had no idea.
Oh, no.
And despite that, neither of the Edwards were charged with anything. But the seeds of Edwin's corrupt nature had been planted.
Pause for a second. What were the bribes supposed to be doing?
So the bribes are supposed to convince congresspeople and senators to
vote against Nixon removing the troops?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Edwin was all, what money?
Yeah.
This money? Oh, it's
Yeah.
only half the amount of money.
Yeah. And besides...
Oh, the whole amount? Well, it's
Yeah.
fake money.
And besides,
it's
you gave
real
it to my
money,
wife.
but- God damn it, Edwin. Can't we have anything nice?
And then, there's the previously mentioned corruption conviction of Edwin's second-in-command, Buddy's dad, good old Buddy Roemer.
Budgie.
But despite all that, Edwards ran for governor again in 1983. Now, Louisiana states that a person can only serve 2 consecutive terms as governor, but can run again after sitting out a term. Edwards set about making incumbent Governor Treen look just completely outmatched. Edwards was incredibly well known for his quick wit, so He said things such as, "It took David Treen an hour and a half to watch 60 Minutes."
But ching.
During a debate, Treen tried to embarrass Edwards by asking him, "How come you talk out of both sides of your mouth?" To which Edwards snapped back, "So people like you with only half a brain can understand me."
Okay, that's actually pretty good.
By the end of the campaign, Edwards would end up coining an incredibly popular term that's used in really creepy ways nowadays, but said the only way he could lose was if he was found in bed with a dead girl or a live boy.
Get this man on Comedy Central roast.
I know. And he was right. Edwards defeated Treen on the first ballot 62-36.
Damn.
It really is amazing to note that by the time the 1987 election rolled around, Edwin Edwards hadn't lost a single election in his entire life. But when you hear him talk, it begins to make sense. He has this jovial tone that's equal parts like old country lawyer and fun uncle and self-deprecating goof. Granted, when you hear him talk now, it is very easy to recognize the problematic charisma that made Southern Democratic politicians so popular from then and throughout the 90s, and ending somewhere around John Edwards.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to the 1987 gubernatorial race. So as is tradition for Edwin Edwards, he found himself in another and far more serious scandal. Between his second and third term, Edwin had procured multiple state certificates to build hospitals and nursing homes.
What could go wrong?
Allegedly, he had promised promotions for people in the state government who pushed the certificates through. He then turned around and sold them to larger corporations for, according to Edwards, around $2 million.
Of his own admission?
Yeah. It's just like, yeah, I got $2 million from this.
All right.
Edwards, however, failed to report his interest in those large corporations on his state financial disclosure forms.
Huh.
This caught the attention of U.S. Attorney John Valls, and so he charged Edwin with mail fraud, obstruction of justice, and bribery. Edwards claimed the whole thing was politically motivated by the Republicans, despite Valls being a Jimmy Carter appointment. Edwin was forced to stand trial in 1985, and it turned into a goddamn fucking circus. Edwards treated Valls like an opponent at a debate, deriding his questions, mocking the proceedings, and he even rode a fucking mule from his home to the courthouse as a form of passive-aggressive symbolism.
Wow.
After an initial mistrial, Edwards was acquitted of all charges. In a final suave fuck you to Valls, Edwards reacted to the news story that members of the jury had stolen towels from the hotel. Edwards laughed and said, "I have truly been judged by a jury of my peers."
God damn, Edwards.
I know, he's not a dumb man. The thing, though, is Buddy Roemer didn't find 1 ounce of this funny. He had supported Edwards in his 1983 run and even encouraged his constituents to vote for the former governor. But for Buddy, enough was enough. Edwards had
scruples.
I know, yeah, Buddy.
He's a buddy.
Buddy, I did not take this nickname lightly.
No.
Sir. So while Buddy was a congressman, Edwards had never flown once to Washington to meet with him or any of the senators there for Louisiana. He ignored memos Buddy had sent him and never replied to requests to meet one-on-one. And now, Edwards' cavalier attitude towards his own alleged crimes broke the last of Buddy's support. Buddy Roemer became the first candidate to challenge Edwards in the 1987 election and pledged to make Louisiana great again.
No! The more things change, the more they stay the same!
It was really good of Donald Trump to give Buddy that slogan back then. Unfortunately for Edwards, the state still remained financially fucked after his trial. But he had a solution, an incredibly unpopular one: legalize gambling. He proposed opening 15 casinos in various locations and creating a state lottery while he's at it.
Oh, no.
Now, this would have been a hard sell to the state to begin with, but by this time, Edwards was known as a notorious and unashamed gambler. During the Valls trial, it was discovered how often Edwin would make trips to Las Vegas just to gamble stupid amounts of money under aliases such as T. Wong and E. Lee. He also had a habit of paying off his gambling debts with suitcases stuffed with cash from who the fuck knows where.
What is this man?
He went to Vegas and was like, "I am here, I'm a caricature."
In the 80s.
In the fucking 80s.
God, so he's probably doing cocaine too.
I know, right? It's like, what's in your suitcase? Cocaine?
I've seen
Good.
Casino.
'Cause I have money in this. I don't know how you take a suitcase full of money through an airport.
I don't know either.
I mean, back then, I'm sure there was just, like, TSA was just some dude smoking in the building and just saying, go ahead. Now, a politician being fond of gambling and cards wasn't unheard of. Buddy Roemer was proud of his own skill as a card sharp. Once bragging...
This is Louisiana, after all.
Exactly, yeah. Once Buddy bragged of having won nearly $9,000 in 1986 amongst his congressional pals.
$9,000?
$9,000 in one
We're
night.
paying them way too much.
The difference came, though, when it went beyond friends playing privately in their own home. Roemer was staunchly against legalized gambling in Louisiana, which he claimed led to, quote-unquote, organized crime. The mafia was already an issue in New Orleans at the time, and the idea of expanding their power, like Vegas had done, freaked the state out quite a bit. Not to mention the evangelical bent that gambling was a huge-ass goddamn fucking sin.
Yep.
Edwin had sent the gambling proposal to the State House while he was governor, and they roundly told him to fuck off. The only thing Edwin had accomplished with this gambling gambit was tank his disapproval rating to 71%. Candidates swarmed against the failing Edwards, and before long, Buddy was joined in the upcoming election by fellow Congressman Republican Bob Livingston, Democrat Billy Towson, as well as Louisiana Secretary of State Jim Brown. And suddenly, Buddy found himself polling in 5th, where he stayed until the second week of September 1987, just weeks before the election. Roemer was out of campaign cash. His campaign manager had just told him not to worry, though, because most people don't really make up their mind voting until the last week before the election. Still, it wasn't looking good. That is, until Buddy appeared in his last TV campaign ad, bespoke in a blue suit and speaking to the camera in a quiet intensity. He let loose on his dislike of Louisiana politics, and Edwin Edwards in particular. He vented his anger of the state being so constantly embarrassed and left behind. He stated simply, I make some people angry. I notice my opponents don't make anybody angry. Doesn't surprise you, does it? They're politicians. I don't like Louisiana politicians. I like Louisiana.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roemer's ultimate final move came during a forum between the candidates. All were asked whether they would support Edwards in the general election if they didn't make the runoff. The idea of full-on rebuking Edwards was a bridge too far for many of the candidates, some of which were still pretty strong supporters of Edwards in general. But when Buddy was asked, he flat out said, no, we've got to slay the dragon. I would endorse anyone but Edwards. Newspapers en masse endorsed Roemer after those two bold moves against Edwards, and he suddenly burst to the front of the polls. On election night, Buddy's lead held. He pulled in 33% of the vote while Edwards wrangled 28%. The big shock came when Edwards withdrew the night of the race.
What?
Yep, instead of going to another election that he was pretty sure he was going to lose, he just dropped out. The Roemer Revolution had taken over Louisiana politics. Now, it's one thing to declare yourself a reformer, and it's a whole other thing to actually do it. One of the first actions Buddy took was an executive order that named investigative journalist William Hawthorne Lynch as the state's first ever inspector general in charge of rooting out corruption and government inefficiencies. Considering Lynch held the job until his death in 2004, it was a pretty successful first move.
Oh my god!
Dude, people fucking love the guy.
Well, all right.
That being said, Roemer would need to do more than just putting one dude in a position to solve the $1.3 billion deficit facing the state.
Wow.
Buddy called a special session of the House and attempted to pass a plan that would raise taxes and reform multiple government agencies to be more cost-effective. When presented to the public, the whole damn thing was voted down. In fact, the only way Roemer was able to keep the state from actual bankruptcy was to get an approval for a $1 billion loan to pay for the state's debts.
Wow.
Despite repeated setbacks via the massive debt, and Edwards-aligned members of the State House voting against anything that Buddy would present, Buddy was able to cobble out a few successes. He increased teacher pay, he strengthened the Department of Environmental Quality, and he toughened campaign finance laws.
Buddy!
Yeah! Unexpectedly, the turning point that made Roemer's tenure more tenuous didn't come from the budget or his inability to pass the majority of his reforms, but from a murder in 1974. It had been 20 years since the decision of Brown versus Board of Education, but the all-white Destrian High School wasn't in any hurry to acquiesce to the rule of law and end their reign of being racist jackasses. But, it being the law and all, they were finally forced to accept bused black students into the school. One of the newest students was 16-year-old Gary Tyler. On October 17th, the school had been closed early due to a massive fights instigated by white students. A bus preparing to return the black students to their homes was surrounded by a mob of between 100 to 200 people, most of which were students of the school. During the violent chaos, a 13-year-old white boy was shot and killed. Police searched the bus but were unable to find a gun, probably because the shot came from the mob and accidentally hit a teenager on their own side.
Jesus.
During the search, Tyler talked back to one of the cops and he was charged with disturbing the peace. Despite the lack of evidence, the cops took all the students on the bus and interrogated all of them. Many were intimidated and threatened, and by some kind of racist cop magic, they had already arrested who they found out to be the murderer, young Gary Tyler. Gary's mother claimed that he had been beaten in an attempt to force him to confess. Tyler was charged as an adult for first-degree murder.
And how old was Tyler?
16. During the trial, the cops produced a gun they claimed they found on the bus. The story was that Tyler had smuggled it in via a slit cut into the cushioned bus seat. Oddly enough, the witness who had claimed that Tyler had done this later recanted her testimony, and the gun that was used had suddenly disappeared from the evidence room. Tyler's all-white jury found him guilty, despite the lack of any physical evidence which, by state law, condemned him to the death penalty.
Holy fuck.
At the age of 17, he was the youngest inmate on death row. But luckily, Roberts versus Louisiana the following year would decide that the way Louisiana had set up the death penalty requirement was unconstitutional. Unluckily, that meant Tyler's sentence would change to life in prison. After spending 15 years in prison, the Louisiana Board of Appeals reviewed Tyler's trial. By then, 5 witnesses had recanted their testimony, and it was becoming more and more clear that Tyler had just been overwhelmingly screwed by a racist and angry police department. The Board of Appeals recommended that Tyler be pardoned, but the final decision would be up to Governor Roemer. Seeing as Buddy and his father had been such strong advocates for civil rights, it seemed like Gary Tyler would finally be free.
Buddy, come on.
Buddy refused to pardon Gary Tyler.
Buddy!
You see, Buddy wasn't doing well in the polls. He had pulled back on his reformer side and moved more towards traditional politics, in an attempt to at least get something done during his tenure. And to make things worse, a new candidate was rising from the right. The sort of man that would benefit from the fury of the people who still believed that Gary Tyler was a murderer. A guy by the name of David Duke.
No!
And on that, we're taking a break! Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner. You can find us on Twitter at GadflyPod, or you can find us on Instagram at Gadfly_podcast.